with Haunted Chocolatier, I wanted to explore like the more, it's like, what next? You know, it's like we have our basic needs met with Stardew Valley. Well, now let's take it beyond into the realm of the ethereal and the creative. Well, what if you like do intuitive chocolate making? You know, what if it's not such a mechanical process and it's a more creative, like you have to let go, just accept that there's a mystery and a whimsy, and maybe that's an important part of being human that maybe needs to be explored a little bit more.
Eric Barone, aka ConcernedApe, is responsible for what is arguably the most loved life/farm sims of all time, Stardew Valley. We had a chance to catch up with Barone at GDC with an interview and ended up having an amazing conversation about all things Stardew Valley, the much anticipated Haunted Chocolatier, and what life and progress looks like as a solo developer. We discussed the love of Krobus the Shadow Monster, the disdain for Pierre on the internet, the idea of intuitive chocolate making in Haunted Chocolatier, and much, much more. There are timestamps in the description if you want to head to something specific, but other than that, let's just jump in, and I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as we did. How has your relationship with Stardew changed over the years?
You know, when I first started, it was kind of just a pipe dream project. Something, I didn't have huge ambitious ideas for it. I was like, I'm just going to make a little game. It's based on a kind of a game that I loved as a kid, Harvest Moon. I just want to, you know, create my own world that's similar to that. And, you know, at first it's very fun when you first start working on a new game. It's all fresh. You're seeing things come together really quick. Then you enter the kind of like grind of adding in all the content and polishing everything. And it can get a little bit not as fun when you're doing that. But it's like, you know, I started off kind of having no ambitions. My ambitions for the games like kind of grew over time as my skills improved, as the game started to come together. And I started to feel like, you know, maybe this could actually be something. I still didn't think it was going to be super popular. I thought it would be maybe a niche game for Harvest Moon lovers. And I even thought a lot of them would probably hate it because they'd be like, this isn't as good as my favorite Harvest Moon game, you know? But so then that slowly like ramped up. The game came out. You know, okay, here's another thing. When I was making the game, there was many times where I thought this game's awful. Like, it's not fun. Like, is this even, no one's going to like this, you know? But the truth is, I'm always very hard on myself. I'm like my own toughest critic in a huge way. But it's just that mindset, I think, helps me always struggle to do better. I always need to make the game better. I always need to improve my skills. Then the game came out and it was like, you know, it blew up pretty quickly. And that was definitely a strange time. It was kind of, it took me a while to get used to the fact that suddenly, you know, there's this game I made is actually popular. Like, people are playing it, people love it. Yeah, millions of people. Quickly, it was selling millions of copies, and it had, you know, 98% positive on Steam and all this stuff. And I mean, it's just like, it was surreal. For a long time, it was completely surreal. But I didn't have too much time to think about it because I had to fix bugs. I had more content updates that I wanted to do. It's like, okay, I have this huge audience now. I need to keep it going. I can't just like, I'm not going to just, you know, go live in the Bahamas or something. Like, I have serious work to do now. At this point now, almost 10 years after release, it's definitely simmered down a bit. I've gotten used to this new reality. It's at the end of the day, I'm still the same guy that just kind of sits on the computer almost all the time working. That's just what I like to do.
Are you easier on yourself now, or are you still your own harshest critic?
Maybe a little bit, because I do think my skills have like genuinely improved with 10 years of experience. I mean, I guess it's 10 plus 4.5, so it's, you know, almost 15 years of experience as a game developer. I do feel like my skills have improved, and I try to be objective about that. But I'm never gonna think, you know, I'm great. I've done it. I've achieved it. This is the end point. You know, like, no. I'm always thinking like, I'm not that good, and I could be way better at literally every aspect of game development. My strategy is to have extreme criticism of yourself, but then also 110% faith in yourself at the same time. It's like, you know that you can improve, and that's kind of the mindset that I had. It's like, okay, I'm objectively not very good right now, but I know if I practice, if I put 1,000 hours in, I'm going to get better. And then I just, and that's still, I think, where I'm at. That's just my mindset.
What's your process for teaching yourself new things?
I mean, really, mostly what I do is just practice. It's really just, I think, doing pixel art, like countless hours. Like I've just learned things on my own. There was one time where I briefly looked at a little bit of pixel art theory, which was helpful. I learned a few things about, anti-aliasing and dithering and banding, these like certain pixel art concepts. That's the only time I ever looked up anything. After that, I just went back to my pixel art, and I've just been making stuff. And it's just, over time, you just get better. You start to develop a feel for it. And that's where you really know you've gotten pretty decent at something, is that you just have this like deep intuition. There's no thought about it, really. It's just like, I look at pixel art and I'm like, okay, I need to change this pixel and that pixel. I don't even know why exactly. It's just a feeling.
Do you still go back to improve on areas in the game?
Yeah, it's not necessarily something I intend to do, but it always inevitably happens. And it's kind of a constant struggle. It's like, I'm working on the new game, Haunted Chocolatier. It's been a few years that I've been working on it now, and it's like, I look at some of the stuff I did at the beginning, and I'm like, oh man, here we go again. I'm gonna have to redo all of this. And it's not like it's even bad. It's just like, I just feel like it's okay. It's part of the problem of being like, especially a solo dev, is like, it takes so long to make a game. I'm literally a different person in 4 years. So it's like, my whole feelings about everything have changed. Like my aesthetic sensibilities have evolved. Like maybe when I started, I was in a jewel tones phase. And then it's like, now I'm like in I don't know, like some totally different, I'm pastel colors or something, it's like, not that that's just an example, but yeah, it's just, so it's hard to be coherent with yourself over this long period of time that it takes to make a game,
Is your approach more philosophical now after so much success?
I mean, I would say that maybe, my life situation has changed a bit. I don't think I'm like a luxury guy now. Like my lifestyle is unchanged from before Stardew Valley, for the most part. So I've always been like a kind of head in the clouds kind of guy. So I actually don't think that that's really like a new thing. It's really just Stardew Valley, even though while it is kind of a grounded game in a way, it is also very fantastical, and like there's a lot of weird stuff. There's talking raccoons, there's magic, there's dwarves, there's all this stuff. So it's like, yeah, I'm not like, and just like, yeah, I've always been someone who like, I'm very much interested in the imagination and imaginary worlds and fantasy and that sort of thing. But yes, it is true that, now that I don't have to work the theater job, the usher job, and my life is pretty free and open. I can kind of do whatever I want, whenever I want. It does allow more room for like thinking about stuff, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. But I try to always channel that into my work, because I want to be productive. That's very important to me.
Have you seen the Baldur's Gate 3 Stardew mod?
I haven't tried it. I don't really try Stardew Valley mods, but I have seen like pictures of it, screenshots, and I read an article about it. But I think it's cool. I mean, I'm totally supportive of modding. And the recent Stardew Valley update 1.6 made it like so much easier to mod. Modders have like so much more power and control over any little thing. So I'm hoping that they utilize those features to make this. I think another thing about Stardew is it's so like just accessible in terms of, I mean, you play this game and it does look kind of amateur in a way. And so it feels like, I could make a mod for this. This is like very simple. And it's true. It is pretty simple to mod, and it is like it's not a super high advanced technology type of game. It is a pretty simple game at its core. So I think it's a great way for people to like get into modding.
Why does everyone love Krobus, the shadow monster?
That's a good question, you know? I mean, he's just lovable. I don't know. I love him too. I think it's just, maybe there's something about the fact that he's not like human, you know, like, and he's just kind of like I don't know. He's just like a guy, you know. It's just like there's certain things where like when someone's a human, there's certain like, you know, baggage that comes with that where we're like, oh, this reminds me of this person that I know or that person. When someone's like a kind of a blob shadow monster guy with a really nice personality, he's friendly too. I think that's another thing people like. It's like he's a monster, but he's actually just like a nice little guy, you know, like he's a friendly guy.
Why do so many people hate Pierre?
I assumed people wouldn't like Pierre, but I didn't realize how the extent to which they would hate Pierre. Yeah. And I think I kind of advocate for Pierre a little bit. I think he's not as bad as some people think. I mean, he does, after all, well, I don't want to spoil it, but he plays a crucial role in the community center path, you know, at the end of the game.
Community center or JojaMart?
I mean, I'd have to say I lean community center. That's kind of, and that's one of the things I kind of regret about Stardew Valley is I feel like it's a little bit too on the nose with like Joja are the bad guys and community center is the right way to do it. And it's like, I think if I made Stardew Valley again, I would try to be a little more nuanced. Like maybe there are some positives to Joja, you know, like nothing is that black and white. Like in reality, there's usually nuance to everything, you know, and that was something that I wanted to have with Stardew Valley is like have nuance and things, but I kind of failed in that particular aspect, I would say.
What else would you have done differently in Stardew Valley?
I think I would have probably spent more time like fleshing out the characters more, like, and this is something I actually have mixed feelings about because some of the character storylines, they're kind of like left as cliffhangers almost. Like there's no resolution to certain things like Mayor Lewis and Marnie's like secret relationship, or like Linus, even his like there's no I mean, I actually ended up adding in kind of a conclusion to the Linus arc, but then there's things like Clint where it's like, you know, I have ideas for how I could resolve these things, but part of me is almost like, I wonder if I should, because it kind of then does it, like it's closing the book in a way. I kind of like that it's open-ended. And it gives people the ability to kind of themselves like finish the story in their head, which makes Stardew Valley more like personal to every person because there's a lot of room for your own interpretation on things.
How did you notice the left and right harvesting bug?
That was something that I think the community discovered, and then I was like, what? And like I actually tested it out, and it's like, what? I can't believe this. And how did no one tell me for like 8 years? It was like literally 8 years after the game came out that I learned about this. So I'm sure there's still more things in the game like that, but that was crazy. And then I looked in the code and it was like, yep, sure enough, like when I set up like the animations, I had just accidentally made the animations, I think like slightly like longer when you're facing left to right. And it was like, it was just a mistake.
What's your opinion on fishing minigames?
I like fishing minigames, and I like Stardew's fishing minigame. I know it's controversial. A lot of people hate it, but I think it's fun. I think it could have been done better. My regret with the Stardew minigame is I think it starts out too hard. I think there should have been a better curve of like, it starts out easy, and then it gets a little harder, like, because you're catching more difficult fish. But like the way I did it, it's like you start out with this tiny little bar, and it's like, I should have started with the bar a little bit bigger, I think. And maybe then it's like gets slightly bigger. But like, yeah, but I still think the fishing game is like good overall. And I tried to mitigate some of it because I know a lot of people really hate it. So I tried to mitigate it a little bit by adding the training rod, which a lot of people don't know about, but you can buy it for like 5 gold at Willie's shop. And it makes it so that the fishing is a lot easier, but you can only catch it below a certain like tier and quality of fish with it. It's good for training. You can level up, and then when you switch to the regular rod, your bar will be a lot bigger, you know? You know, Stardew Valley's mini game, I think I've said this before in interviews, but it was actually inspired by, I was playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And you know, there's like you're flying on the barrel, and it's like you press one button to go up, and then you release it and you go down. It's like the helicopter game, the old browser game. That's actually I was like, these controls are fun. I like this one button It's like one button, but there's a lot of depth to like a Donkey Kong level like this with just one button. And I was like, maybe I can turn that into a fishing mini game.
Do you have a cutoff point for Stardew?
It's at that place right now because the 1.6 update is pretty settled at this point. There was ongoing console ports and bugs, bug fixes and all that stuff, but it's pretty settled now. So I'm committed to like not working on Stardew Valley until I'm done with Haunted Chocolatier. Now, am I ever going to completely cut off Stardew Valley? I don't think so. I'm never going to say that. Because there's been times I said that in the past and I always ended up making another update. So I don't think there's ever going to be like, it's done. It's maybe when I pass away, then you can say the book is closed. But
what's the plan for the Stardew Valley board game?
It's still in pretty high demand. We kind of switched from selling it directly to just kind of selling it to distributors who send it to like board game shops. Part of the reason is like selling it directly there is a lot of like hassle and overhead with that, like doing it yourself. And also like, I don't want to always be like bothering the fans being like, go buy this thing, like I feel like at some point you kind of burn through like people's, bandwidth to like support you or something. And it's like, the last thing I want is for someone to buy the board game to support me or to Stardew Valley. I want them to buy it because they genuinely want this item and they feel that the price is a fair exchange for the thing they want. Otherwise I genuinely do not want them to buy the game. It just makes me feel bad. But I appreciate it. It's nice that they want to do that. It's really nice and heartwarming, but please only get it if you really want it.
Have you played many recent farming or life sims?
I tried a couple. I tried Sunhaven. I tried Graveyard Keeper. I think that's pretty much all I've tried, to be honest. I messed around with some like, I feel like they're Stardew Valley inspired, but like I did boot up Disney Dreamlight Valley because I was like, wait, it's called Dreamlight Valley? Like what's going on here? So I had to check it out. And it's like, I'd say it's more like Animal Crossing than Stardew. It's really great that Stardew, I can't take all the credit for this, but like that Stardew seems to have inspired like a lot more people to consider this kind of game, like a farming game, life sim kind of games, which, I love those kind of games growing up. Harvest Moon was my favorite. I played Rune Factory. I played The Sims. I did play a little bit of Animal Crossing, but I was more into like Harvest Moon. That was my big one, but it's great to see like a resurgence of that kind of game and see that, maybe Stardew inspired other developers to make games in this style. I think it's cool.
What have you been playing lately?
Well, recently I've been playing chess. So, it's a great game. It's one of the original games, which I think is, it's very deep, I think it's a really good game in terms of game design. It is unfortunate that like AI has kind of like broken it in a way, but I was kind of depressed about that for a bit, but now I'm over it and I feel like who cares? Like I'm not interested in AI playing chess. I'm interested in humans playing chess. But I'm not like a huge chess guy. It's always something that I've wanted to be like decent at. So I've just been doing it lately. I've also been playing Warcraft 3 Reforged. Okay. A little bit. I've actually been playing like custom maps, like with my friend. We play like random like custom games, which it feels very old school. Like that's what I did in high school a lot with like Warcraft 2 I played and Age of Empires, like especially Age of Kings. I played a ton of Age of Kings as like when I was in high school, and I would just go to my friend's house. We'd have like LAN parties.
Where are you at with Haunted Chocolatier?
I'm still tweaking the vertical slice. There's still vertical slice work to be done. At the same time, I have been working on content, so it's a little bit of both. But yeah, the game is I'm still totally knee deep in development. It's going to be a while still, but I'm trying not to rush myself too much. I'm trying to stay relaxed and stress free. The problem is I have Stardew Valley that I still have to worry about, and it always drags me away from. Well, I don't want to say drags me because I do love Stardew Valley and I care about the fans. And I want the fans to have a great experience. So I'm always concerned with Stardew Valley and making sure that it's doing well, and that pulls me away from working, like devoting all my time to Haunted Chocolatier. Yeah. I think at some point I'm going to have to completely cut off everything else. And like, honestly, I've thought about maybe I should just go into like a cabin in the woods and completely get off the internet and just say, okay, guys, I'll see you in 2 years. Like you won't hear from me at all. And I'm going to finish this game.
Have your design interests changed during the development of Haunted Chocolatier?
My feelings have evolved with the game over time. It's like one thing lately that I've been kind of interested in is the intuition. And you might even almost say like a spiritual aspect, because I feel like intuition and like spirituality, they're like a different part. You have like the left brain, which is like the mechanical engineering thing, and then you have this kind of like intuitive, like psychic, paranormal side. And it's like, I feel like games are often very left brain focused. It's like, here's your ingredients, now engineer the perfect chocolate. Instead, I'm thinking like, well, what if you like do intuitive chocolate making? What if it's not such a mechanical process and it's a more creative, like you have to let go of your desire to engineer the perfect chocolate. And maybe just accept that there's a mystery and a whimsy, and maybe that's an important part of being human that maybe needs to be explored a little bit more. Or that I don't even know if it needs to be. It's just something that I'm interested in doing right now. You're making the chocolate, and that's one step. But then it's like, okay, what am I going to do with this chocolate? And it's like, you can just eat it plain. That's fine. But you might also want to make elaborate truffles, or you might want to. In my game, you might make ghost chocolates. You might make paranormal chocolates. So it's like, it's taking that idea. It's like this Stardew Valley. It was a very like grounded game. It's about you're growing things in the earth. These are the basics, like the fundamentals of human sustenance and existence, which is very important and something that I do care about deeply. But with Haunted Chocolatier, I wanted to explore like the more, it's like, what next? It's like we have our basic needs met with Stardew Valley. Well, now let's take it beyond into the realm of the ethereal and the creative, and like, you might even say luxury, or like things that are kind of beyond just the very basics. So yeah, I just think it's another realm of the human experience, which I'm interested in exploring.
What chocolate do you like?
I tend to go dark chocolate. I mean, I'm not like a huge chocolate guy. I like chocolate, but it's I tend to go dark chocolate, yeah. And dark chocolate I think is healthy too, in moderation. Yeah. So I worry about that with Haunted Chocolatier. I'm like, am I gonna like ruin the teeth of a whole generation with this? Like, I need to. So I'm trying to think about that. I'm thinking about doing it so you can only eat like 2 chocolates per day. Like, it fills up your stomach, and then have the system work around that. And
you could build a toothbrushing mini game.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe there needs to be a dentist in town or something. But like, yeah, and I want to have like healthy chocolates too, like superfood, ashwagandha, maca root chocolate. Special stuff.
What's been exciting and different while designing Haunted Chocolatier?
Yeah, well, I will just say generally that it is a life sim game, and it is similar to Stardew Valley in many ways. So I think people are correct in assuming that, and that's fine. It's the kind of game I want to make. It's what I like making. But I'm really interested in with Haunted Chocolatier to really crank up the imagination and the creativity. I want to go all out with doing just kind of weird, interesting things. I love giving people memorable experiences. Like even in Stardew Valley, there's brief touches upon this with like, you drink the green liquid in the wizard's cauldron, and then the trees, like you start getting the trees waving, and also, well, it's like, I want to like do stuff like that, but like way more interesting, and I just want to, yeah, I think with this idea of like, there's ghosts and you're in a haunted magical castle, there's so much room for interesting, compelling, imaginative characters and situations and music and just atmosphere. So I really want to create interesting, like mysterious atmospheres in this game. It's like Stardew Valley is very kind of like, I think I view it as like sunny and bright and lush, and Haunted Chocolatier is more dark and mysterious, not like evil dark, but just kind of like, mysterious dark and a little bit paranormal, things that you're not sure what this is all about, but it's exciting your imagination.